Good afternoon, Selamat Sore, and this is February 28th, 2021, and it's another Bali COVID-19 update. This is my YouTube channel, and I'm Bruce, and we have so much stuff today. So much stuff has been going on in Bali the last week. I'm going to just focus on what's happening with opening Bali, and a little at the end on foreigners. So let's get started with the numbers as usual, and good news. Again, they're down. Yesterday, 151 new positive cases. That's great. Gives us a total of 34,128. Total 31,027 recoveries, 920 deaths, and down to 2,181 active cases. So, good news. Good news. 143 local and 8 domestic travelers. So, looking good. It's getting better, and that's going to affect what's talking next. What I'm talking about next. Specifically by Regency, Denpasar 45, Badung 41, Bululang 20, Bangli 13, Tabanan 13, Klungkung 6, Jembrana 9, Gianyar 5, and Karangasem 2. Good news, because I may be in Karangasem next weekend, a week from today. So it'd be nice if there's no cases there. So you take a look at the chart. Numbers are down, so that's good news. And it's got, of course, the government working on when to open Bali up. Not things not related to tourism, opening Bali up for tourism. And so let's take a look. So first thing is vaccinations. So tourism workers in Bali can now apply for COVID-19 shots, their vaccinations, online. Today was the end, actually. According to the provincial government, through the tourism office, opened up an online registration, and they had, at the time of this article that I'm using for my source down below, 10,500 registered. Of course, there's 1.2 million, they said, people involved in tourism here, so they got a long way to go. So registration was going to be open from February 22nd to February 28th, but they said they may extend it depending on what happens, and so my guess is that if the numbers are still like that, they're going to probably extend it. I hope so. So the head of the Bali Tourism Agency, Pak Putu Astawa, said that registration could be extended, and the registration data will be sent to the Ministry of Health in order for them to grant a supply of the vaccine. In the Ministry of Tourism, and I'm going to talk about that, our old friend Santiago Uno is joining this effort to get Bali going, so they're really pushing to get the vaccines to vaccinate the people working in tourism. And the first phase is done right. We're in the second phase now. Astawa is optimistic that the government can distribute the vaccine to 1.2 million tourism workers in Bali because they want to get this done, because they want to build trust and confidence that Bali is free of COVID and that it's ready for international travelers. So there is a push going on. This last week there have been meetings here. Pak Sandiaga was here. The vice governor is involved in this. The governor, everybody is making a push. So, okay, and next. Coordinator Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment, Pak Luhut, met with Pak Sandiago Uno from the Tourism and Creative Economy Ministry, to discuss the options for reopening Bali. And that's because of the decreasing numbers. So, as I said at the start, things are getting better, and so people are getting going on what they're going to do to reopen up Bali for tourism. Pak Luhut said the decline occurs due to the implementation of careful policy approaches while taking into account two crucial factors, namely reactivating economic activity and enforcing the health protocols throughout Bali, including at the village level. And he also said that as conditions improve, it's likely that the government will open up Bali for foreign tourism, but under specific rules and procedures. And these include a new draft that they've created with penalties for violating health protocols, including warnings, fines, and deportations. And I'm going to talk about that later on. This is especially said for foreign tourists. And the ongoing vaccination process is part of this push to go, this ongoing vaccination process with the tourism workers in phase 2, which we're in right now. And along with that, next one, Bali is ready to open with 75% vaccinated. So according to the Deputy Governor of Bali, the government has already prepared a free corridor program. And he said that the free corridor program would allow foreign tourists who had been completely vaccinated, completely implemented the vaccination program in their own country, would be eligible to enter Bali. So note, you need to be vaccinated to get in on this program at this point, as this is. Things can always change. The target right now are Chinese tourists, because we know, this is a quote, we know that the country has managed to get out of the pandemic because of a successful vaccination program, so we can let them in very soon. So they're looking at the Chinese market, which is, of course, our biggest or second biggest, to kind of go back and forth with the Aussies. And who knows about the Russians now? Bali seems to be full of Russians. However, before this happens, there's 75. There are several requirements. And the first is 75% of the population on the island needs to be vaccinated, especially tourism operators and workers. He said that the priority of the government vaccination program is to get the vaccinations done in Bali as soon as possible. So they're looking at 75%. And this is this number that's thrown around a lot in countries about herd immunity. And the number is often 70%. A friend of mine, a doctor in Korea, yesterday told me 70% what they're shooting for herd immunity in Korea. So 75% here. And he said Bali also has to have a health facility. I'm not really sure what this meant. Similar to that in the home country, so that they're comfortable with sending people here. So I'm not sure what kind of health facility he's talking about. And then also keeping the COVID-19 protocols. And he said Bali is second in the provinces in Indonesia for doing that. And all tourist accommodations and restaurants and destinations need to be CHSC certified. And so these are the conditions to open up. So if you're a tourist and you want to come, you need to be vaccinated. If you don't believe in vaccinations, you're not going to get in, at least in the early stages. So you want to come to Bali, you got to be vaccinated. The deputy governor also said that the government will will continue to push the implementation of the protocols to the public, because this is the first selling point of Bali tourism during the pandemic, is that everybody is following the rules. except some of the foreigners. Well, and some locals too. But I was out yesterday in Singaraja again with Zoe and Masha the bear, and there'll be a video on this coming up in a couple of days under the Singaraja snippets, because we were down in a street that I don't think I've done before. And everybody had a mask on. Everybody. But this is a non-tourist area, right? This is a local area, as I've said many times. Okay, and more on the news on reopening, and more on Pak Sandiaga. And this article calls him Pak Sandi, so I guess that's its nickname. You know, everybody in Indonesia has nicknames. He said that coordinating meetings with the central government and regional officials are going to be taking place regularly now to speed up the opening, and he was here this past week, and they're going to be looking at MICE activities as well as targeting domestic tourists within the next 6 months who have undergone vaccinations. So the domestic tourists are going to need to have vaccinations as well, because he said domestic tourists are the mainstay. If we've got domestic tourists here, the businesses are going to be going. We saw the spikes when we had the 2 times when domestic tourists came. We also saw some spikes in numbers. And additionally, 4 green zones are going to be set up for Bali tourism. And those green zones will be in Ubud, Sanur, Nusa Dua, and Nusa Penida. So I don't know what happened to Canggu. Maybe they're going to put a wall around Canggu, maybe Trump's wall. And these green zones are going to be COVID-free areas. And that leads us to the next story, which is the Bupati of Gianyar. So the Bupati of Gianyar, in this photo, he's showing his data with good news about COVID, the COVID-19 front in Gianyar. And he said, as soon as possible, Gianyar will be free of COVID-19. I'm sure of that. He also said that the war against COVID-19 needs a brave leader. I guess he's talking about himself, and support from all parties involved. And that the recovery rate in Gianyar is 90%. He was asked, what's the strategy to free Gianyar from the pandemic? And he sighed, it says in the article, at this question, and did not disclose the actions he's taking because he said he did not want to offend other parties. Not sure what that meant. Wind is picking up here. Weather here has been yuck lately. Up in Bulang, up in Singaraja. Rain just about every night, sometimes during the day, heavy winds. Okay, so Gianyar is getting ready, and in case you don't know, that's where Ubud is, and so that's going to be one of the green zones, right? And so I may be in Ubud next week. It depends on what I'm doing. I'm either going to go to Karangasem or I'm going to go to Ubud. I'm not quite sure yet. Okay, so that's that with the opening. They're getting ready. They're getting ready to put a push on. When is it going to open? Okay, nobody knows. They were talking here about domestic tourists within the next 6 months. The vaccination program's going, and phase 2 is supposed to. I said this last week in this last video. It's supposed to be done by July, and then the 3rd phase starts in August. So, now, I've been wrong before, right? I said, if you remember way back in October, I was saying, oh, you know, I think they're going to put a push on to get it open by Christmas, New Year. Well, partially true. They did for domestic tourists, not for international tourists. So we've got, this is last day of the month of February, right? And so high season, July. That gives us what, March, April, May, June. July, another 5 months, 4 or 5 months. Can we get things open by July? Maybe. I don't know. Okay, so along with all this, opening up Bali, Bali expats to face US $100 fine and deportation for purposely violating health protocols. Okay, and this is, I think, a Bali Sun article, and they always kind of have sensational headlines. So, the Balinese authorities have decided to get tough on foreigners who violate health protocols and mock police officers. Good for them. Of course, number of people in Bali, a lot of old-time residents, Bali Discovery website, myself, have been saying this for a while. Get tough. The foreigners don't take this, some of the foreigners don't take this seriously. And you saw it last week with the young lady arguing with the cops in the middle of the street. Okay, at a meeting called Enforcement of Prevention Protocols in Bali, that included representatives from the police, immigration, the Maritime and Investment Ministry, and the Vice Governor, and the Tourism Ministry, it was decided to get strict. The Vice Governor said most of the offenders are expats. Okay. Well, we see these numbers, right? They've been there. 80%, 90% of them are expats. Okay. We know that there are a lot of foreigners here that refuse to wear a mask. All you have to do is go on YouTube and put in Bali living, and you'll see foreigners wandering around in Canggu without mask on. The Vice Governor said apparently most of the expats underestimate the Indonesian rupiah 100,000 fine that's given for violations. Well, yeah, of course, because that's what, about $7 US. So, do they really care? They spend $7 for coffee, for avocado toast. I don't know. They said that going to discuss revising the current regulations with related ministers to add more policies that will deport expats who intentionally neglect the rules and continue to confront officers. We will deport those who ignore the second warning from officers and those who confront the officers while getting warned, said the Deputy of Tourism and Creative Economy. And he was the one who proposed the fine, and so in the Indonesian article it said between 500,000 and 1 million rupiahs. In the Bali Sun article it said $100 US. Not really clear on how much that is, but the plan is that you get warned, you get fined, you got 2 warnings. The third one, then you would be out. This is the new Get Tough plan. Whether they're going to implement this or not, implementing policies here is not always a certain thing, as I've said many times before, and especially with foreigners. And so, what about last week? Right, I had that story about the young Russian lady who did her video naked on an elephant, and so it was figured out that it was in Taro village in Tegalalang, and so she was called into the Bali Regional Police Office to discuss the incident, the controversy, and according to the report in the news, she said her video was a work of art and a form of her love for animals. And she didn't think the video would breed criticism, so she not high up there in smarts, or she's high up there in smarts and thinks that she can bat her eyelashes and convince the cops of that. Apparently she did a good job, because the authorities decided that they found no criminal elements or violations in her posts on social media, and so she was not punished. as far as I know, according to the draconian internet law that is here, posting naked videos on social media is against the law. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But she got away. So she has not been punished. And who knows what's happened to her. And another Russian story. The two Russians who fled, escaped. The story headline here is Russian fugitive nabbed in Bali after dramatic escape. And it didn't sound all that dramatic the way it was reported a few weeks ago. Somebody walked out. So there was a lookout all over the island, and the police and the immigration and everybody else, military, had exits blocked off, right? They were there at the airports, the seaports, checking to make sure that they didn't escape. And it turned out somebody turned them in. The police got a tip, and they went down into the Umulas area, and first went to one villa, and nobody was there. They went to a second villa, found that they were there, and the couple were arrested at 1:30 a.m. Probably a noisy group of fellas. There were people from the military, the cops, immigration, and they were arrested at 1:30 a.m. and they offered no resistance, and so they're being held, currently being held. What's going to happen to them? They'll certainly be deported at some point. Are they going to stay in jail at all? Maybe not, since they're wanted by Interpol. They're probably going to be sent back to Russia. Sweet. And so, that's it. Okay, so foreigners are flooding in again. The people that had the visas before, right, still no offshore visas are being issued. Onshore visas are being renewed. If you've got an onshore visa, those are being renewed. No new offshore visas are being issued at this time. And so you want to come to Bali, we're looking at, I don't know, July, August, September. Vaccinations, at this point, you're going to have to be vaccinated. That may change. Nothing ever stays the same here. And so that's it. If you're a foreigner here, you see now what's happened. These foreigners that have refused to wear a mask, that have refused to do social distancing, who are arguing with the authorities about this, have created a situation now where it's going to be made difficult for every foreigner that's living here. So thanks a lot for that. It's something I talked about before. Your actions, your childish, immature, entitled actions have affected all of us now. So what happens if I go out and I forget my mask? I could end up getting fined 1 million rupees. Why? Because of you. So thanks. So you're here. Follow the rules or get out, as I've said before. For God's sakes, I don't know what's so difficult about wearing a mask. Okay, and so there's my rant again. And that's it. Thanks for viewing, and stay safe if you're in Bali. There have been some weather warnings for the south, strong winds, high seas, and we've certainly had strong winds here. And I'm just looking at the coconut tree over there, and it is it is bending. So let's see if I can get that in the video. So thanks for viewing. Stay safe. Be kind to someone today. And let's see. Can we see this? You see the coconut tree. I don't know if you can tell that it's really bent over, but it is. The wind is picking up Okay, and so that's it. See you next time.